Welcome to Gunner Trash episode 265, The Fifth Beatle, The Brian Epstein Story, by Vivek J. Tiwari, Andrew C. Robinson, with Kyle Baker. My name is Eric.
And I'm Jason.
Hello.
Hi. There's a lot of names.
There's more names than we usually say.
Yeah, that was what?
3.
6.
Well,
including us.
Including us and
Brian
Brian Epstein.
Yeah.
Okay, that was 6.
I've never heard of Vivek J. Tiwari.
Tiwari. Yeah. Neither have I.
Yeah. And his was he a? I think I looked at the credits, but now I'm misremembering. This was his first comic, I think, right?
I believe so. Yes.
But he's a real writer.
He is an award-winning producer of theater, film, and television, with productions including Green Day's American Idiot, The Addams Family, and A Raisin in the Sun, among others. The Fifth Beatle is not only his first comic, his first book.
Oh.
And he is currently writing the screenplay for the film adaptation.
Well, heck yeah. There you go.
So there we go. Yeah, so that's what we now collectively know about Vivek J. Tiwari.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting name.
Yes, it is. I believe he is Indian American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I believe. Could be wrong.
Yeah, we often are. Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of our specialty.
Yes. But I'm going to just go ahead and say right at this moment that I did not buy this book for Vivek J. Tiwari.
No, you did not.
I bought this book solely for Andrew C. Robinson.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're a huge fan.
I am a big fan, yes.
Mm-hmm.
He is a guy who does not do a ton of comic book work.
Right.
But he is pretty fantastic at it. He did a lot of covers in the mid to late 90s, especially for Starman for a while.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And,
Okay.
after Tony Harris left, he kind of did some covers.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he even did 1 or 2 fill-ins, even.
Oh, interior.
Yeah. But yeah, his interior stuff is sporadic at best.
Right.
But I always enjoy seeing him. He's got a creator-owned book from Image that I think has produced a total of 4 issues in the past 20 years, called Dusty Star.
I remember Dusty Star.
Yeah.
Okay. It was like a Western.
Like, yeah, sci-fi Western
Yeah.
type thing. I mean, if anything, the art in it is gorgeous.
Right.
But it's 4 issues in like 20 years.
Yeah. It's hard to keep up with the story.
Yeah. So I was super excited when I found out that he was working on something, and then my dashes hoped a little bit when I found out it was about the Beatles.
Yeah, you're not a huge Beatles fan.
I'm not.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
As far as Beatles
Yeah.
fans go? Okay. Let's say I went through several periods.
I don't need to hear about your feminine problems.
But it might explain my emotional outburst. I mean, something's got to explain it away, right, ladies? But anyway, I remember hating the Beatles when I was,
In your punk rock phase?
in my punk rock. Well, which is weird because also when I was in my punk rock phase, I loved, KMFDM and, Nine Inch Nails and all these industrial and metal
Loud, angry.
and Prince. I never disliked Prince.
Okay, well,
it's weird.
There's your disconnect. Right.
So yeah, but I was there was something about maybe hearing about them all the time from everybody about
Right.
how they were the best band ever. even Grant Morrison would talk about it all the time in
Right.
Invisibles. And I think I went through this phase where I couldn't stand them. And then, like, inexplicably, I think someone put a song, Happiness is a Warm Gun, on a mixtape for me once. And I was like, that's actually really good. And then, so I bought a couple of their CDs used, and then, cause, they were cheap.
Right.
And I was like, I'll check them out and see if it's not just like, because my mom always liked the Beatles.
Sure.
But I'd heard, like,
Old people love the Beatles.
old people love the Beatles. Brian Epstein was a visionary. He knew people were gonna be old, and he was like, I gotta put this together because people are aging. Like everybody is.
Except for Brian Epstein.
Oh, spoiler. So I went through that phase, and then I started liking them because I bought Rubber Soul and Revolver, and those were really good. And then I kind of just got burnt out. Like I was still like, eh. I mean, like I like when I hear a Beatles song on the radio or whatever, but I never just crave to hear the Beatles. So
Right.
I figure I'd just sell the CDs and just listen to music that I won't hear unless I am the one putting it in the player. So
Right.
So yeah, I like the Beatles, but I wouldn't say they're one of my favorite bands or anything.
Right.
They're no AC/DC.
I know you're saying that because you're a piece of shit. AC/DC rocks.
I love AC/DC, and I generally would rather listen to AC/DC than the Beatles because I would rather have that sort of crunchy, like, guitar thing going on, but I don't know. Sometimes Big Balls doesn't really quite get to the same level as, I don't know, Blackbird Singing or whatever. Like sometimes you're in the mood for one or the other.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Right. Because this is not the first time that you have ever just flat out made fun of AC/DC in front of me.
But in a loving way.
Because I have never perceived that it was in a loving way. You do.
I do like AC/DC. I'll put it on record.
All right.
I've actually owned more AC/DC albums over the years than I have Beatles albums, but
Yeah.
I don't think I have any right now. Maybe I do.
I own more Beatles than I do AC/DC.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel they're both greatest hits bands.
Yeah.
But I actually do own two Beatles albums.
Really?
I believe I own With the Beatles and Rubber Soul
Nice.
on vinyl.
Wow.
And when I say own, I mean that I took them from my parents' house because my dad was going to sell his record collection.
Ooh. So they're like old copies too.
Yes,
Nice.
they are. They are probably original pressings.
Nice.
Yeah. Although I have to wonder where they came from because I don't see my dad as a fan of the Beatles.
Really?
Yeah.
Because, like, maybe I could see him liking more the early stuff
Maybe. Yeah.
before they were like druggy.
Experimental.
Right.
Yeah. I can see my mom. Probably. They might be hers.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably my mom's.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that. Yeah.
I remember I bought, because my mom really liked the Beatles, like, forever. She probably watched them on Sullivan and all that.
Right.
And, but she mostly likes the I Want to Hold Your Hand era.
Right.
Like the early stuff. But I remember I bought her the White Album, like, 10 years ago or something on vinyl.
Right.
And she's like, what is that? And I was like, it's the White Album by the Beatles. I just assumed that, she at least knew what it was, but she'd never heard of it.
Right.
And I listened to it with her once, and she's like, oh,
Right.
like some of it I think she liked, but it gets pretty weird in spots. So yeah, she didn't really dig that as much. But I really like the White Album and Rubber Soul and Revolver. Those are my three.
I've listened to everything that they've put out, and I mean, like, some albums are better, and but there's at least two songs on every album that I like.
Yeah.
Like for me, they definitely are just a greatest hits band.
Right.
I think there's like maybe two or three that weren't greatest hits that I enjoy.
Right.
Yeah. But at the same time, they're also one of those bands that, there's not a lot that doesn't get played on the radio by them anymore.
That's true.
I mean, especially like you have radio shows like Breakfast with the Beatles.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, but just for throwing on my MP3 player, I've got, a selection of songs by them that I enjoy. They're mixed right in there with my Metallica and my Misfits and the Ramones.
Right.
And, it's all good.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah. There was a song that came out a couple years ago. I can't remember what it was or what it was about or anything like that, but there was a line in it and the line was, the Beatles are just a band.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, exactly.
that is pretty much my philosophy on the Beatles.
Yeah, I've heard much worse and I've heard much better.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. So I don't dislike the Beatles at all. I just I don't love the Beatles.
Right.
And if you go by the Quentin Tarantino thing of you're either a Beatles person or an Elvis person, I guess I'm definitely more of a Beatles person.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I definitely like some Elvis, but yeah, I would sooner park my truck in the Beatles camp than the Elvis camp. You don't know what those Elvis fans are going to do to your truck once it's in there.
No.
It'll have 2 wheels missing when you get back.
And it'll just be filthy.
Yeah.
Stuff that you don't want to touch.
No. Maybe peanut butter and chocolate and bananas all over it. And heart pills and who knows. Yeah. But the art is what drew you to those.
Yeah. When I found out that Andrew Robinson was doing something, I was like, that is exciting. And like I said, just kind of waffled. Did I really want to read, a biographical comic about the guy who managed the Beatles?
Right. So you'd have been stoked if this was called the fifth AC/DC member.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'd have been more readily into it.
Right, yeah. It doesn't have the same ring to it.
No, yeah. He's the slash between...
The fifth misfit.
There's 20 misfits.
Yeah, that's true. Well, this was about number 5, whoever that was. Johnny Misfit or whatever.
I'll say Robo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I sort of waffled about whether I would ever want to read this or not. But it came down to it is that, man, I am really a huge fan of Andrew Robinson, and I want to support that guy.
Yeah.
So I'll buy his book, no matter what it is.
You went for it.
I went for it.
And this isn't just it's not like it's a 4-issue, single-issue thing that you tried the first issue of. It's a fucking graphic novel.
It is a graphic novel. It is at least 100 pages, if not more.
Mm-hmm. With a $20 cover price.
$20. It is a hardback, and it is big.
It's really tall. I like that.
Yeah. This is... there's page numbers.
Oh.
Gotta love a comic with page numbers.
Yeah, I do like that. My new comic has a page number count.
I know.
You guys should all buy it when it's out.
A couple more weeks, it'll be ready.
That's right.
So, 135 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say it was worth buying.
Yeah.
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 I enjoyed this book.
It was solid.
Yeah.
I agree.
It was like the Beatles.
There's good stuff and
there's good stuff and some stuff I got left.
Yeah.
And
right.
I've read better comics, but I've read much worse.
Oh yeah.
And I would say this leans more towards it's not mediocre by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
It is more towards the top of the line there.
Yeah, the story's good. It's
a little weird.
It's a little weird, yeah, which I didn't expect.
Right.
And it doesn't focus nearly as much on the Beatles as I thought it would.
Right.
Like I thought it would be. I mean, the cover says, the Fifth Beatle, Brian Epstein story, but the photo is, him and the Beatles hanging out on the cover, and it is just about Brian Epstein, and the Beatles are probably in maybe a third of the book, maybe something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the entire book revolves around the Beatles, but they're not really in it. They aren't characters in it so much.
They're kind of like
set dressing almost.
Yeah, right, yeah. Or just sidekick character, second tier characters.
Right. Which is fun.
Yeah.
Because, really, in all honesty, if you want to know about the Beatles...
right. There's all kinds of stuff.
I think you might be able to find something.
Yeah. If you Google hard enough, one of them will pop up.
There was comedian Paul F. Tompkins posted a photograph of the newest issue of the Rolling Stones, which has the Beatles on it, and there's like the label, "How the Beatles Took America." And his response is like, "Yes, because the world has been dying to know about this often forgotten thing that happened."
It's true. Yeah, that is a testament to the quality of the writing in here, is that it does make interesting something that could have been very yawn-tastic.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Because we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't, like, if you would have said, 2 weeks ago, hey, who is Brian Epstein? I'd be like, musician?
Right.
I couldn't even told you that he was Beatle related.
Right.
And I've even seen, like I mentioned, the Laserdisc of Backbeat, so I should know this. But I was like 12 or 13 or whatever. So.
Right. For me, I think the name, before I had heard of this book, the name Brian Epstein to me was just one of those vague sort of names.
Yeah, it's like Phil Spector and all those guys.
Right, I wouldn't have known who Phil Spector was before he murdered a person.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
And I wouldn't know about Brian Epstein until a comic was made about him.
Right, that's how we get together. You found out I murdered a guy, and you're like, I might start hanging out with that guy after all. But yeah, it was a very good, like, biopic of Brian Epstein.
Yeah.
Like, I would watch this movie.
I would as well. It's apparently getting made.
Yeah.
And apparently they've secured rights to Beatles songs to be used in it.
Oh, wow.
Which is, I guess, is a pretty rare thing.
Yeah.
Because all the surviving members and the estates of the other members have to agree to allow the music to be used.
Wow. So they're behind this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a quote on the back that says, Paul McCartney says if there was a fifth Beatle, it was Brian Epstein.
Right.
So yeah, I guess I would imagine this is pretty much on the level then.
Yeah. Well, I think the quote is actually from an interview that he gave years before this book came out.
Right.
But,
okay. But I mean, if they're okay with that movie being made, they've probably at least been told what it's about.
Right. Yeah. But I guess, because I did a little bit of research after reading the book, and I guess, not a ton was actually known about Brian Epstein, up until, like fairly recently.
Oh, okay.
Like he was just always sort of the Beatles manager, and nobody gave a crap.
Right. Yeah, for those that don't know, he was their manager.
Right.
He kind of got him out of playing a little club and kind of got him in the limelight.
Right. And in this book, sort of takes some liberties, I think, with the story, but, for the most part, it's all there.
Right.
But yeah, he just sort of, like, I guess the book presents it as, like, he really didn't know who the Beatles were before he saw them, but, like, I guess, like, their records actually kind of sold pretty well in the store that he owned.
Yeah.
So, like, he knew who the Beatles were.
Right.
Like, but, he had just never seen them before.
Yeah. Which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. So basically he goes to see the Beatles play and just immediately becomes enamored with them and decides that he's going to be their manager.
That's pretty awesome.
And basically turns them from just a smarmy bar band into world-changing superstars.
Man, where was he when High Society was playing in like house shows and like the basement of billiard halls?
He saw you.
He was there.
Yeah.
He ripped up his ticket stub and went and blew a guy in the bathroom. It happened.
Just to get the bad taste of listening to your music out of his mouth.
Which is weird because, our music would leave a bad taste in his ears, but whatever. Maybe our bad taste seeps from into all orifices. So that explains it.
Yeah.
Which there should be a sequel to this that says like the Brian Epstein story part 2, where he time travels to the 1995 and watches High Society play at Circle Billiards basement.
That's your next comic.
Yeah. Okay, maybe it would be. You'll color the cover for me.
Sure.
Yeah. So we should talk about color.
Okay.
The color, I mean, like, the artwork is incredible in this book.
Right.
He's great, but I think the color really, like, sets it off.
Oh, yeah.
The color is amazing in this book.
Yes, it is. I believe he colored it himself. I think he's one of those guys.
I didn't see another name.
Yeah, just art by Andrew Robinson and separate credit for a letterer.
Right.
That's it.
It's incredible. I mean, like, I'm usually not a huge fan of a painted look in comics, but it just works so well with his kind of cartoony style. Like,
I think, yeah, the cartooniness helps. Because I like the juxtaposition of, like, really painterly work with, cartoony line art.
yeah, that looks a lot better than,
Like, Alex Ross.
Yeah, and it's weird. He's like the one that kind of breaks that theory for me, because I really do love his interiors, but 99% of the time I'm not a fan of realistic painted artwork inside of a comic.
What do you think about someone like Bill Sienkiewicz or John J. Muth?
Oh, where it's kind of
really messy and very not realistic.
Right.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Sienkiewicz, I can read a little easier, because, like, even John J. Muth, it's weird, but I mean, you can tell, like, everything is, like, in proportion, and he's got a really good sense of anatomy, and he knows how to draw people. So I like the mystery play. Like, I remember reading that, which is great. But yeah, I would much prefer, anything really, really cartoony and simple. Like I would rather see the mystery play drawn by the guy that draws Mother Goose and Grimm. Like, like, to me, that would be much better.
Mike Peters.
Yeah, Mike Peters. I love Mike Peters.
Dayton native.
Yeah.
Hometown hero.
He is, honestly, one of the people that inspired me early on to be an artist.
Really?
Because when I was in, like, 3rd grade or something, we had a field trip. They took us to see the Dayton Philharmonic Orchestra do Peter and the Wolf, and he was on stage with the band, the orchestra, and he had, like, one of those overhead projectors, and whenever a character would enter, like, when their song would be played, he would draw them, and he just kept drawing these, like, super fast sketches. And I was like, wow, that is so cool. And I can remember that vividly. And I was probably, like, 7 years old.
That's awesome. But you never lived up to the dream of being able to draw for the Dayton Philharmonic Orchestra.
No. I did not. I did do a Motel Beds album cover, and they had their release party last night.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds expensive, but when you think about it, it wasn't. Like, they played a live show, and it was $18 to get in the door.
Alrighty.
But everybody got one of the albums, so you get an album and a live show. And there was like 2 other bands too. So
maybe, yeah. What if I was there for one of the opening bands and didn't want their stupid album?
Right.
That they somehow managed to get 100 different people to draw covers for and not pay them.
They paid them.
Oh,
yeah,
you got paid?
Well, they paid We Care Arts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They paid them, like, I don't know how much they paid them. Probably
but you didn't get paid.
No.
Yeah, they fucked you.
All the teachers and volunteers did them for free.
Right.
But the clients at We Care got paid.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Probably not much.
Right.
Probably like a couple bucks or something, but I mean, that's still $1,000.
Not a fan. Not a fan of exploiting artists.
Oh.
You shouldn't be either, you fucking jobless hippie.
Hey, man, I've got a job. I'm a cartoonist, man. I'm like Chester Brown. Except for with all the popularity and hoe banging.
Right. If you could trade everything for just one of those two.
Hoe banging.
Right.
If I could afford hoe banging, I could not be popular and be happy.
The Fifth Beatle.
So yeah, what do you think? You don't seem to mind painted, like,
No, yeah,
stuff.
I'm okay with it.
But you're not a fan of Alex Ross, though.
Yeah, I don't like the super realistic stuff.
Right. It just kind of slows the story down a little
It
bit.
does, and I get distracted, and by like, well, I wonder who the model was that did that.
Right.
Especially like,
Yeah.
you see behind the scenes stuff, and like, I mean, the people who model for Alex Ross look exactly like he paints them,
Right.
and so it's just like the man has like all the skill in the world, but like none of the style.
Right. The
Yeah.
imagination.
Right.
I think where Alex Ross is like creative talent comes into play, I think is his choices of color and light, because everything always looks awesome as far as light source and color.
Yeah.
And I know he's like got lights there pointing them at the actors, but I mean, like color choices and everything, it always just clicks and looks really good to me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just so lifeless to me whenever I see it.
I can totally see that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm surprised that I like him at all. And then whenever I like him as much as I do, it surprises me even more.
Right.
Like, it does not seem like something I would like, but maybe I don't know, maybe I've just seen his artwork for so long that
Right.
I'm kind of nostalgic about it.
I've seen it as long as you have, so,
Yeah.
I mean, I will admit, like, I've seen, like, pencil sketches that I know that he did not do with any kind of reference.
Right.
And they look good.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's definitely has something.
Does it have a different style to it at all?
It's like a similar style,
Yeah.
but like just, like a little bit more of a looseness to
Yeah,
it
see.
and a free flow.
That would probably be better.
Yeah, like, I just, but what he actually produces is not something I enjoy.
Right.
But I do like painted artwork. I do especially like, like your more abstract guys like, Dave McKean or Bill Sinkovich,
Oh,
mostly because it's just sort of a jealousy. Like, how the hell do they do that?
Sam Keith and
are
those guys.
still able to, like, produce something that you can tell what the hell is going on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, like totally straddles that line of crazy, unwieldy, but yet narrative,
Yeah. And, I like some painted covers if they're stylish enough.
Yeah, the covers always are better
Yeah.
than interiors as far as, like, I would rather see an Alex Ross painted cover than like a cartoonier inside, which that happens a lot, actually.
Sure. Yeah.
Because, yeah.
But, I enjoyed, I think this is kind of like, for me, like an in-between, like that realistic painted style and then cartoony, but like we talked about, it's because he keeps the line art, visible.
Right.
It's not overtly rendered. It's,
And you can always tell, like, which, Beatle he's rendering.
oh yeah.
And it's great that way because it's still super cartoony, but it's, it's based enough on realism that you can you can tell who's who.
And like that's the thing. Like I was looking through it, and like as I was just flipping through it moments ago, I saw like a panel of Paul show up, and it was just like it looks like exactly what we think of as Paul McCartney,
Yeah.
but like it's not dead on to his likeness that like it just kills the drawing or
Right,
anything like that.
yeah.
It is it's clearly his style.
It's totally consistent with everything else in the book.
Right, yeah. And it's like I'm in awe of
Yeah.
someone who can do that.
It's impressive.
Because, I mean, like there's all sorts of like licensed comics, where like, the artist has to draw the characters exactly like the
right.
actors, and it just sort of...
Or all those Blue Water comics.
Yeah. I'm not even considering those comics.
Right. They're more tragedies.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, like the X-Files or...
Oh,
Angel
yeah.
or Buffy.
Or Star Wars or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Right.
And it's just like, the art is always just a slave to making sure the actors all look like...
The actor.
Right, yeah. And, it's always something that... Like, I've... It's one reason why I've always sort of shied away from licensed books.
Yeah.
Especially, like, those.
I can remember specifically one time I saw a Star Wars comic and there was like a panel with a close-up of Han Solo, and I was like, I have that trading card at my house.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
I totally recognized that image. I was like, that's just... Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember once, like, Michael Avon Oming, who I enjoy his work. The guy who does Powers. I guess they asked him to do a cover for an Angel comic, but like he drew it, and it looks like a Michael Avon Oeming drawing, but like a Michael Avon Oeming drawing,
Right.
which means that David Boreanaz didn't look like David Boreanaz in it,
And they got pissed at him?
and they told him that they weren't going to use the cover,
Yeah.
and it was just like, but like the character that he drew, like, had the feel of being Angel, and like the tone of the character and the setting and everything. It just didn't look exactly like him.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, it's disappointing because I loved his cover better than whatever they did choose.
That's even like when we've joked about this a couple times. The times when Jack Kirby drew Superman,
Right.
Like I mean, that's to me that's the ultimate. Where they're like, okay, Jack Kirby, we don't like the way you drew this. It's like, wait a minute, what? It's Jack fucking Kirby drawing a comic, and you're telling him that he's drawing it wrong?
Right.
I think maybe you're wrong.
Yeah.
So they changed the faces of the Superman.
Yeah,
He drew,
right.
kept the bodies. So I guess, I mean, especially with licensed products, I mean, because they're trying to appeal to people who maybe aren't necessarily comic fans. They want you to say, hey, look, that's Sarah Michelle Gellar, and they want you to buy it.
Right.
But yeah, Andrew Robinson does a great job of straddling that problem and making it work.
Yeah, and like I said, he's not a slave to likenesses, and I think it also helps that, we've, like, the Beatles are so familiar
I
to
have
us.
seen them before.
Yeah. That, like, and we've all seen, caricatures of them, and, like, Yellow Submarine, and, all that kind of stuff that, like, you could probably just cut it down to the basic shapes, and we all know who they are.
Yeah, like, I even probably could tell you who everybody is in the Kyle Baker portion.
Oh, yeah.
And he does, like, this, like, 6-page story or something.
It's like a dream sequence, or I don't know what
bizarre.
the hell it was.
Yeah, it was, like, bizarre. It was, like, when they toured in India. Philippines.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of like a Beatles TV show or cartoon where it just changes, like, drastically the look of it in the middle of it. But that was weird.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't some of my favorite Kyle Baker art. It looked like he drew it on a napkin, like with a Sharpie.
I feel really bad for thinking this, but I have really fallen off the Kyle Baker wagon.
Yeah.
I used to love Kyle Baker, and something in like the last 10 years, like he's just drastically changed his style.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it's what he wants to do, I mean, I certainly can't, bitch him on about that, because, I mean,
you gotta do what you feel.
Experiments and then, and then grow and whatever, but I am not a fan.
No. Yeah, the last thing I remember thinking looked awesome by him was Plastic Man.
Yeah.
Like,
and even that was a drastic change from, some of his other stuff.
Right.
But that was probably the last thing of his that I truly, really enjoyed. Because he started adding a lot of, like, 3D rendered, backgrounds and things, and it just looked off with his, like, cartoony line art.
Yeah.
Or he would just add, like, weird filters to, like, his coloring.
I think that was the thing that bothered me the most.
Yeah, like I saw some of his Deadpool stuff was exactly like that, where he would just sort of reuse photos and filter the crap out of them, and it's not why I'm a fan of his.
Yeah. Like you said, if he's having fun experimenting, maybe.
Right.
If he's getting paid for it.
Right.
But still.
But even, like, his pages in this are not what I would,
they're not up to par,
Yeah.
Like, and it's weird, like I think it really works as far as if they're trying to jar you with, the drastic style change.
Right.
But I think if he would have done it with his, I don't know, like even the Plastic Man style, I think that would have been better.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I knew Kyle Baker did some pages in this, and I'm reading it, and it's like over 3/4 into the book before that gets to that. Like, there were a couple of times where, like, I would see a page and be like, oh, I think maybe Kyle Baker drew this part.
Right.
But, like, it was just Andrew Robinson just being a little extra cartoony.
Yeah, exactly.
So, basically, Andrew Robinson is doing a better job of Kyle Baker.
I know, I thought that too. Like, I didn't didn't know what the story was, like if there was a separate sequence by Kyle Baker, but I started wondering halfway through the book, I was like, maybe I already saw his pages.
Yeah.
Maybe he's mimicking this guy's style because, they had a deadline or something. But
Right, yeah, I thought that a couple times too.
Right.
Like, oh, maybe I passed it and just didn't realize it.
But no, it's pretty obvious once you see it.
Yep.
It'd be like if you were reading Spawn and all of a sudden Charles Schultz drew a couple pages. It's like a drastic difference.
Oh, yeah. And, sadly, not the best Kyle Baker I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's still a name where, like, if someone said, hey, check out this drawing Kyle Baker did of Batman or something, I'd be like, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, his style's changed enough that I'm a little more cautious if I go, like, especially if I was buying something, putting out my money.
Yeah, I would, unfortunately have to say I would probably not automatically buy anything that he did.
Without checking it out.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, he drew a couple years ago, it was Special Forces, I think was the comic.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And it's a really good comic, but, I didn't love the art in it.
Right.
But, like, it's very well written and executed. It just...
He did all of it?
He did all of it, yeah. But, it was just... Yeah. It's upsetting.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, though, really informative and a fucking beautiful book.
Yeah, kind of sad in places, and very moving, and very interesting. The guy Brian Epstein lived, a very interesting life.
Yeah, because he was homosexual in a time and place where you could actually be arrested for that,
right?
Which is fucking crazy.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
We've grown up in an age where it's not, like, especially when we were younger, not very tolerated.
Right.
But, I don't think there's ever been a time we've been alive where people could be thrown in jail for being gay.
Yeah.
And that is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently in England it was a thing.
Right. Yeah, was it just England? Or,
well, because that was what surprised me. I was like, what? And then whenever the scene where he came to America, he mentioned to Diz, the
hustler,
his gigolo, that it was illegal back where he came from to even be open about it. And I was like, what?
I remember that now.
Yeah, it was crazy. Well, what did you think of some of the characters like Diz and is there any character that you're put off by a little bit? There was one for me.
Was it Ed Sullivan and his puppet?
I loved Ed Sullivan and his puppet. And I was hoping, for a second, I was like, is that Topo Gigio? But it wasn't. No. It was just like a ventriloquist dummy that Ed Sullivan apparently talked through.
Maybe. I don't know. Clearly, I did not like Ringo Starr.
That's the one I didn't like him. No, the scene where Epstein meets Elvis's manager.
Oh, the Colonel Tom Parker.
Like, it was so over the top. And and it could have been just reeled in just a little bit, and it would have worked, I think.
I think so, too, yeah.
Like, I think the thing that bothered me the most was the pointy devil horns on his chair and his pointy teeth.
Yeah.
Other than that, if they would have took those two things away, I would have just been like, man, that guy seems like a jerk. But they were really just, they might as well have an arrow that said, this guy's the fucking devil!
Right,
over his head.
It needed some subtlety.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those things where, with the Beatles, we kind of know the story for the most part, like even parts, little parts.
Right.
I think most of anyone who is a fan of music and Elvis maybe, or is just aware, knows that Colonel Parker was probably not the best human being in the world.
Yes.
Yeah. Could have reeled it back a little. Yeah.
That was one of the few parts of the actual story, the writing, where I thought, unless that was just an artistic choice, but I feel like it was painted pretty heavy writing wise.
Oh yeah, I think so too. I was not a fan of that particular part. There's a couple parts where it was just like, oh, this is just weird.
Yeah.
But never to the point where I was just sort of like, stop.
Yeah. It's very well done, because it could have very easily turned into one of those things where it was feel bad for the Beatles or something.
Right, yeah.
But it wasn't. It was It was informative and interesting and really, really pretty.
Yeah. And, it touches on, a lot of the major events that occurred, in the Beatles' history and, and just sort of the background behind it and, explains that, Brian Epstein, this was the first band he ever managed, and so he kind of made some bad deals here and there, which is why, Paul McCartney still has to pay royalties to play, his own music.
Right. Does he really?
Oh, yeah. Because they don't have the rights to their own music.
Luckily, he could probably afford it, though.
He can probably afford it, yeah. But, it was, just sort of a sad story of a man who just seemed to be continuously grasping at something that even he couldn't really fully understand what he wanted.
Right.
And I guess, it's almost inspiring.
Yeah, because it does sort of have this theme of, like they mention over and over again, love, and how Brian Epstein helped the Beatles spread love all over the world. And that is something about their songs that is pretty awesome, is, generally they're pretty upbeat. I mean, some of them, there's some sad songs, but they are very, I'm sure they've added a lot of joy to people's lives.
Oh, yeah. And, they clearly have. I mean, people fucking love the Beatles.
They go nuts over that shit. Yeah. The kids are still hula hooping down at the barn. And he helped make that something that wasn't just, flash in the pan, and he marketed it, and that kind of makes me wonder. I've often thought about this because I've known so many awesome bands over the years, from at least from Dayton area, that maybe recorded, maybe they didn't, and I can remember some shows I've seen that.
Stop talking about high society.
Man, I was in the basement of this pool hall once. No, but I mean, I've heard so many awesome bands that I know have no document because they've broken up before they get to record.
Right.
And that just makes me wonder, how much awesome stuff has never been, documented other than the people that were just right there at the right time. And Brian Epstein maybe saved the Beatles, the fucking Beatles, from being one of those bands.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
I would say he did.
Yeah.
Because, they
didn't have a record deal.
They didn't have a record deal. They were mostly just playing covers of blues songs and
right.
They were just sort of they were popular in Liverpool and Germany, but they weren't.
They were no high society.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know that I would think so much about the whole how much great stuff is out there that nobody will ever hear or see again.
Right.
Because that's a little too much to process, I think.
Right.
Because just among the circle of friends that we know,
there's some really talented people.
There are some really talented people, and most likely none of us will ever become famous.
Right.
And but what if there was a guy like Brian Epstein who just happened to stumble upon it and say, I know exactly what I need to do to get this out to...
That's what we need.
We need a Brian Epstein.
We need a Brian Epstein.
We need a Brian Epstein for gutter trash.
Yeah, for gutter trash. That's the thing that we both do really well. Yep, that's it. There'll be little dolls of us, and girls will be screaming their heads off. Podcast all over me! I want your podcast inside me. That's what we need.
Yep.
Yep.
And you'll be allowed to keep your girlfriend.
Right.
You just won't be allowed to let it be known that you have a girlfriend.
Yeah, podcasters, gutter trashers don't have wives. Yeah.
Right.
We want to sell those Eric and Jason bobbleheads.
I think, right around episode 300, we should be reaching our, our Sergeant Peppers of podcasting.
Yeah. There's an album, because they talk about that album a lot in there. That's an album I honestly don't know if I've ever heard the album. I know I've heard, the song, but That's one I need to check out because, they obviously mention it as being like probably their most creative drug-induced explosion of nutsness.
Right.
I should check that one out.
Yeah.
Did that bother you at all whenever there were scenes of people singing in the book?
No. Actually, a little bit.
I mean, because like they would have the lyrics flowing around.
Right. It only bothers me because I couldn't immediately get the tune in my head.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because they weren't using the the most famous songs or anything that I actually knew the lyrics from.
Right.
So honestly, it always bothers me in any comic
When there's
someone singing.
Right.
Yeah.
It is weird. It's hard to convey that.
Yeah.
Like I know you didn't like it, but I think the book that to me most worked as far as like putting a band playing live on a static page was that Garage Band.
Okay.
Or Garage Band is what it was called.
Garage Band.
By GP.
Yep.
I really thought that conveyed it well, but it is hard. I mean, it's hard to do something like that on a printed page. But yeah, good book.
Yeah.
Glad you picked it.
Yeah, I'm glad I bought it. Again, 90% bought it for the art.
Yeah.
And, came away with enjoying the story too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I came away with any kind of more appreciation for the Beatles or not, but,
Definitely for Epstein, though.
definitely for Epstein, and I'm sure, there's other people out there like him too, who,
Unsung heroes.
unsung heroes, people who just, saw or had a vision of a thing and just kept trying to make it happen, but was never satisfied with how it was happening, despite all evidence to the contrary that everything that he wanted was right there.
And never got the credit they deserve.
Right.
Like Stan Lee.
Like Stan. Oh, gosh. I am currently listening to the audiobook version of Marvel, The Untold Story.
Oh, okay.
While I'm at work. And it is like a blow-by-blow account of everything that, Marvel was like in the early days. Like, I think it goes up to the 80s even.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, right now I am in the middle of like the 60s are ending and the 70s are beginning. And Kirby has left.
Oh.
And so, like, it's basically Friday. Like, I listened to, like, 4 hours of this thing. And it was just basically all about how Stan Lee was just an asshole.
4 hours of that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is how Stan Lee fucked Steve Ditko. This is how Stan Lee fucked Jack Kirby. This is how Stan Lee fucked Wally Wood.
No Jim Steranko?
They talked about Steranko, but never how much he fucked him.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's too bad. Yeah. Stan Lee.
Stan Lee.
There could be a whole another book based on that. I mean, there is. You're listening to it.
I know. Yeah.
But I would love to see a graphic novel about that.
Yeah.
But not drawn totally realistically.
Right.
Like, have Michael A. Van and draw it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, Fifth Beatle recommended.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Would you like to take a break?
Yes.
All right.
Let's break.
Twinkle, twinkle, Ringo Starr, George and John and Paul. I could be more famouser than redwoods are tall. The Beatles came down in their spaceship, and the whole world went apeshit. Just be like the Beatles and let it be. Be like the Beatles, let it be. Twinkle, twinkle, Ringo Starr, George and John and Paul. I could be more famouser than atoms are small. The Beatles came down in their spaceship, and the whole world got wasted. Just be like the Beatles and let it be. Be like the Beatles, let it be.
Hey, here we are.
Here we are, yeah. Again, on our own.
Like big boys.
Yeah.
Like big boys.
How you doing?
I'm alright.
Yeah.
I've got this, like, tiny little touch of my respiratory infection still lingering, but it's weird.
Yeah.
It won't go away all the way.
It sucks.
But I feel fine.
Oh, that's good.
I just, like, every once in a while, if I laugh or take a drink or something, I start coughing.
All right, well, it's a good thing we're doing this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, no one laughs or drinks. I'm, maybe just getting old.
Yeah,
I
it could
might
be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be the I don't know.
I do live in a basement.
That's
It's
true.
kind of cold this time of year.
Cold and damp, yeah.
Maybe that might prevent me from ever healing completely.
Could be. Yeah.
How about you? You doing all right?
I'm doing fine.
You seem all right.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
People close to me are about to undergo a drastic life change, and that is affecting me in some way, and it is weird and scary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you're coping
I'm coping. Yeah,
by drinking.
yes.
It's the doctor recommended #1 coping mechanism.
Drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. No, my mom, who owns the beauty salon right next to my apartments, is going into semi-retirement, and she basically my father doesn't want to pay to have a store anymore.
Right.
Like they've owned this business for like 37 years. And then so
incredible.
yeah. And so he is tired of paying the taxes on it and doing the paperwork and whatever. So he wants her to close the salon, and but she doesn't want to give up working because she enjoys working and she enjoys being on the go and
Being around people.
And I am pretty sure that should my parents both be retired, my dad would be dead. Cancer won't get him. My mom will.
Right.
So she got a job.
Sweet. At Mavericks?
She is taking your place.
Awesome.
No, I'm pretty sure that if she had to deal with magic people, even she would start hating people.
Right.
No, she's going to work at a retirement community as a hairdresser there.
That's cool.
And she sets her own hours and sets her own prices, and she gets to do whatever she wants.
You know, she might actually like that better. You know?
Yeah, she might. Yeah.
A little less responsibility, but she still gets to do what she likes.
Exactly. Yeah. So like 3 weeks ago, she was going to go around and drop off resumes to like a whole bunch of different nursing homes or hospitals or whatever, and so the first one she went to, she dropped off a resume, got an interview on the spot.
Nice.
And then last Thursday they called her in for a second interview, where they apparently offered her the job. I found about this because yesterday morning, 10 a.m. or so, and I was awake, but I was still in bed, deciding whether I wanted to, move at all that day.
It takes a while sometimes.
Yeah, and I got a text that says, "How would you like to make $100? Come see me if you're interested."
And you get those all the time, but not from your mom.
Exactly, right. So I immediately got up, got dressed, and went over to see her.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I am interested in making $100.
Right. Yeah. You don't even have to find out why.
Nope.
If that money's on the table, you're on your way.
Yep. She needed business cards made for her new job.
Oh.
And so she had me design business cards and then go get them printed because she needed them for this week.
That's cool.
So I made $100 yesterday by making business cards for my mom.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that is how I found out she had a new job. Her first real job in 40 years.
Wow, yeah. That's amazing. Well, I wish her luck.
Yeah, as do I.
I wish you luck, because what if the guy that owns the magic shop around the corner rents that space and holds it as a permanent game room?
That has already been discussed
Are you serious?
as a possibility.
Oh my gosh.
If my mom can't sell the shop as another beauty salon, then yes, the guy who owns the gaming store wants to buy the space
Oh man.
and use it as a game room.
Oh, I thought that was like a worst case scenario.
No, that was discussed apparently the minute my mom said that she was going to be closing the shop.
Gosh. I hope that does not happen.
I hope that does not happen either.
Can you imagine? Like, they would all just be hanging out in the, like, little steps area all the time.
Yep. That's not happening. If that happens, that is not happening.
You're right.
Not if I'm around.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I will tell them they can all go hang out by their cars, but they will not be hanging out in my front door.
Right. Yeah. That would suck.
Oh, yeah, it would.
Oh, man. If anybody knows anything about cutting hair,
Yeah.
please
There is a beauty salon for sale here in Dayton, Ohio.
save us.
Please buy it.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, it's scary.
So, yeah.
Well, I hope that works out.
Yeah. So I did that yesterday. And then I did something else that netted me a little bit of money.
Oh.
Yeah. I gathered up all of my Alan Moore comics. Most of my Alan Moore comics.
Yeah.
And sold them to GameSwap.
Wow. Nice. Good for you.
Yeah. Because I don't know that we've talked about this on the show or not, but
I can't remember.
Alan Moore gave an interview a couple weeks ago, which he declared was going to be one of his final interviews, in which he basically spent a good portion of it just shitting all over Grant Morrison.
Right.
Which, whatever. Those two have a feud. Fine.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
Right.
But the fact that, Alan Moore is clearly going out of his way to just shit all over Grant Morrison, and Grant Morrison is just sort of okay, whatever.
Right. I'm just shagging these dames
Right, yeah.
with my magic spell.
But in addition to all that, to Alan Moore showing what just a horrible old curmudgeon he is, he has also publicly declared that anybody who is a fan of his that is also a fan of not only Grant Morrison's, but of any modern comic, he would prefer they not be fans of his anymore.
So as a service to him.
So that's what he wants. More than happy to oblige.
Right.
So I gathered up a good collection of my Alan Moore books that I owned, and took them down to the GameSwap, and they bought them.
What did you keep?
I kept Swamp Thing because that actually took quite an effort to collect those.
Yeah.
Like there was sweat put into getting my Swamp Things.
Right. So they wouldn't buy them because of the sweat in the pages.
Right. Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, are you kidding? If I would have brought in a stack of Swamp Things to Matt Brassfield.
Yeah, that guy. If there's a guy who can ignore sweaty, smelly objects, that's probably that guy.
Especially if it's about Swamp Thing.
Right, yeah. If it's a monster, anything, and it smells like sweat, he'll probably still buy it.
So I kept those. I kept the Captain Britain trade that I have that he wrote. And I kept a couple things because I didn't realize I had them, and I don't know where to find them. The complete Bo Jeffries saga.
Oh, wow, okay.
I've got that somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I would have included that if I'd have known.
Right. In your second round, maybe.
Right, yeah. And I kept, there was 2 issues of the new Spirit Adventures.
Oh, he did
that he wrote some of those. So I kept those because I didn't want to break up that run.
Right.
Right. A short story in them.
Yeah, because it was 3 stories in each one or something.
Right, yeah. And other than him, doing a introduction in books or whatever, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
It's impressive. Maybe I subconsciously knew it was coming because I sold a bunch of my Alan Moore stuff.
Yeah.
Just a couple months ago. I did keep all of my From Hells, and I kept my Watchmen trade paperback.
Yeah.
But I sold all my single issues of Watchmen.
I sold my Watchmen trade. I sold V for Vendetta.
Wow.
From Hell.
Did you have From Hell? What
I had
did you?
the giant ass library book edition.
You didn't have the hardcover, did you?
No, it was the paperback.
Okay, I was gonna say I would have traded you something for the hardcover.
No. Oh yeah, I also kept the 2 issues of Vigilante that he wrote.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. But I got rid of the Superman annual that he wrote, the Man Who Has Everything.
Yeah,
And then whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
I got rid of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe he'll be happier now that he can tell that we've both got rid of some of his books.
Yeah.
I just needed the money. That was before.
Oh, I needed the money too.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, not as badly as you, but it got put to good use.
I definitely, like, hearing about that definitely made me think I probably wouldn't buy anything else that he does from now on. Like, I couldn't imagine something that he would do that I'd be interested in at this point.
Like, the before this thing happened, like, I had placed my order for March from my comic shop, and there was a new Captain Nemo hardcover coming out, and I'd gotten the previous one, and I liked League of Extraordinary Gentlemen stuff, and so I ordered it, and then once that whole thing happened, I dropped it from my order.
Nice.
And also sold all of my League of Extraordinary Gentlemen stuff.
Nice. And you went out and bought all of the film adaptations of his work?
I thought about that. It's like, what would piss him off more if you kept him or got rid of him? Yeah.
Yeah, he'll probably never listen to this show. So.
It's true.
But whichever it is, if you are listening to Alan Moore, whichever version of that story would piss you off more, that's what he did.
Yep.
Yeah.
As it is, I only own a copy of V for Vendetta on DVD. So
yeah.
I don't have Watchmen. I don't have From Hell. I don't have League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, I've never owned any of the movies based on his stuff. I really like a couple of them. But
I do have the Justice League DVDs, and there was an adaptation of For the Man Who Has Everything in one of the episodes, so I kept that.
Are you going to buy that Grant Morrison thing you were telling me about? The based on the Charlton characters?
Oh, whenever that comes out, sure.
Yeah,
of course. I was going to do that anyway, just because
that sounds awesome.
It's Grant Morrison.
He's so good.
Yeah, Frank Quitely is drawing that.
I mean, he's no Alan Moore, but he's
right. Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah. We have Frank Quitely is drawing the Charlton character chapter of that. So, yeah.
Weren't they working on something else together? Quitely and Morrison. Because I remember when back when they announced that Quitely was going to be drawing Jupiter's Legacy, they also announced that he was working on something with Grant Morrison. He was like literally, it was an interview with him, and he said he had both pages in his studio, and he was alternating between working on them.
It's probably the Pax Americana, or whatever it was called.
What was that?
Pax Americana.
I don't know if I saw that.
That was it's the Grant Morrison Charlton Hero thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not out yet.
No. Yeah, there's been no news about it.
Yeah.
I think 2 years ago there was some panels that were revealed with just pencils.
Right. Did you read Jupiter's Legacy?
No. Fuck no.
Do you happen to know how many issues they've had out?
I think there's at least 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I bought the first one when I was still at Mavericks, and that was probably June or July.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, maybe only 3 then. I don't know. Because,
they're slow.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But also, fuck Mark Miller.
Right. I'm not a fan at all of Mark Miller, but it was definitely the best thing I've read by him. And to top it off, there was some awesome Quietly art on it.
Oh yeah, the art's great, but it's just not enough to get me there.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I would buy any more of them, but if there's a trade, I would library rent it.
Right.
Borrow it, I guess is the word.
Yeah. I know Grant Morrison announced a book from Image coming out.
Ooh.
For fuck's sake, I can't remember the name of it again.
Oh.
And I just read it today. Fuck. Oh well.
Do you know who's drawing it?
Chris Burnham.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's apparently a horror comic of some sort. So,
Sweet.
yeah. Excited about that. Yeah.
Comics.
Comic books.
Oh, I forget to look at that Superman fan story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to look at that.
Yeah, you're fine.
I haven't read any other comics recently. I don't believe.
Read a handful of things, just issues of X-Men, or I've been kind of reading through the Batman Black and White series. Yeah, for the most part, yeah, not either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was gonna say I thought I read a comic this week. It was the Beatles comic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
All right.
It was terrible. The end.
I felt like it was something else I wanted to talk about.
Oh.
Comic related, maybe?
Ooh. Any exciting news? Did anybody else blow up?
Yeah, I can't really... Not off the top of my head. Yeah.
I actually did buy a comic this week.
Oh.
You know how I told you I've only bought like 4 comics since I quit?
Right.
But I think it's going to be my next pick, so I can't tell you what it is.
Okay. Right.
But I had a gift certificate from Christmas for Half Price Books, and I went out there and bought a book. So I did buy a comic.
Cool. Awesome.
It's a secret comic.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah. Nothing else too exciting? Yeah.
Just watching things on TV. Well, not necessarily on TV, but things.
You know, things.
Yeah.
Secret things.
Caught up on Sherlock this past week.
Oh yeah, there's a new one coming out, right?
Yeah.
Kathleen was talking about that.
Yep.
Oh, speaking of Kathleen,
Ooh.
you'll be very disappointed with her.
Oh, I probably am.
We went to, first of all, we went to Yellow Springs for lunch today.
Uh-huh.
So you're already disappointed in both of us. I'm sure.
I already know that you went to Dark Star.
Yeah. But do you know that on the way when we were walking to Dark Star, there was a dude outside playing an accordion for money?
Of course there
And
was.
she gave him $1. I figured you would be really upset with that. She put it in his little accordion case that was down there by his feet. You're gonna have to have a talk with her.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He wasn't bad. For your... I mean, it was like, what, 20 or 30 degrees outside and the accordion...
Right.
It's pretty good. Right. I've never seen an accordion player in Yellow Springs. I've seen plenty of guitar players and drummers and whatnot, but that was the first for me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got,
We've dwindled?
we have dwindled.
Yeah.
I got nothing else.
Yeah, I've got nothing exciting going on really.
Alright, so...
Nothing worth talking about.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pick a movie.
I like movies.
Yeah, I do too. You may hate this one.
Oh.
This may be your very first veto.
Oh, I can't imagine.
I can. And I have a backup,
Okay.
just in case. I specifically thought of 2 movies.
Wow. So
Because
you're
I am confident that you will veto this one.
really?
Yes. Because I already know that it's a terrible movie.
Oh.
But I can't fight that I still want to see it. Just out of morbid curiosity.
Oh, so you haven't seen it,
I have not seen it.
but you know that it's going to be terrible.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out if you would be interested in seeing this with me.
Ooh. My interest is
like I said, I'm fairly confident you might veto this.
I've never vetoed.
I know you haven't. I will be surprised if you don't.
No.
But you might not. I don't know.
This is I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. I'm okay at building tension. So the movie that I kind of want to pick is The Spirit.
Veto. I thought you were going to say Irreversible. I didn't know you were going to go way more degrading.
I have seen Irreversible. And, yeah, I'm not a fan, but it's not a bad movie. But, yeah,
You kind of want to see?
I kind of want to see The Spirit, but you're vetoing.
I'm actually going to veto.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Like I said, I was fairly confident you were going to.
I couldn't imagine what it was, but that is the one movie I'm sure I never want to see. Yeah.
Not even if Joe G was going to join us?
Especially not if JoJo was in the gym. Oh.
Okay, that's fine. I had a backup.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Like I said.
I feel bad because I never wanted to veto, but that is, yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, I was pretty confident this was going to happen. So I got my backup. And so my secondary pick is going to be a pick anyway eventually.
Right.
Is Solomon Kane.
Ooh, I want to see that.
All right.
Yeah. Is that a Robert E. Howard thing?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. His other thing that he ever did.
Right. Brian John Mitchell will probably be excited.
I'm sure he will, and I'm sure he'll be there to point out all of our fallacies as we talk about it.
Is that a dick joke?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah. So would Joe G join us for that?
No.
Oh, so it was just The Spirit?
Yeah.
He wants to see The Spirit?
We were talking about it last week, and we both realized that we had a very morbid curiosity to see it. So maybe there might be a special Gutter Trash episode of just me and Joe G.
Yeah, I was going to say, you never know. I might go out of town sometime this year.
Yeah.
And I'll listen to the episode.
Sure.
But I won't watch the movie.
Like I said, yeah, kind of figured this might happen. So, and I did not just pick it just so that you would use a veto.
Right.
Like, I kind of want to see that movie.
All right.
I
That's
know
so
it's
weird.
going to be fucking awful.
Yeah.
I know it is.
You know what's weird is like a week or so ago I thought of telling you like, hey, why don't we just make it a new rule where none of us ever veto anything? Like I seriously thought about saying that because I was like, because I know there's a couple things I could probably pick that you'd be like, oh, that sounds terrible, I'm going to veto.
Right.
But I was like, there's nothing that I would ever veto. So I'm so glad we didn't have that conversation.
All right.
Solomon Kane.
Kane.
Have you seen that?
I have not.
Me neither.
No.
I've held it in my hands before.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
So
You've held it in your virtual hands.
I have.
You virtually held it in your regular hands.
Yes.
Either one of those.
Something like that. Yeah.
Right. Cool.
All right.
Excited.
All right. Then that is it.
Oh. Well,
Okay.
we were gonna, like I mentioned before, like maybe we'd have a contest this time.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think of it until
Okay, then.
until moments ago.
Goodbye, everybody.
How about the first person who isn't one of our friends
Okay.
who writes in, and if you think you might be one of our friends, go ahead and write in. But if you're not positive, because we might not consider you a friend, so in which case you would win. The first person to write in with the secret code of Coco Beware, you have to email the word Coco Beware to either Eric or me.
All right.
Our email's on there. I will draw you a portrait of the Beatle of your choice
Ooh.
and send it to you
Nice.
in the mail for free.
Yeah.
All right. It'll be small because
Okay.
I'm doing something called Little Portraits, and they're all like, 3.5 by 3.5 basically.
Mm-hmm.
So they're small. Don't expect like a wall scroll here.
Right.
But I will do it for the first person who emails, and I know Coco Beware was never a Beatle, so you could include your Beatles name, and you don't have to like differentiate which one is the code word and which is your favorite Beatle, because I'll know.
There was that short time where Paul McCartney left and was replaced as a bass player by Coco Beware.
It's true, but he's not on any album,
No, yeah.
so I would know.
He just played a couple live dates,
Yeah.
and they all made up. Yep.
Right, Frankie the Bird he sang the Blackbird song. It was great.
All right.
So that will be a contest that no one wins.
Okay.
But if you feel like winning it, go ahead and do it.
All right. I hope someone does,
Yeah.
because that means someone's listening.
Right?
Because apparently nobody listens to the Stupid Sexy podcast.
Oh. Because you had a contest.
We had a contest that nobody has entered or won.
Oh. Free stuff is just sitting around.
Free stuff. You know who's going to win that contest? My co-host. Because I already told her that if nobody... Maybe she's
Maybe she's putting the word out there.
got a campaign going to not let
Right.
people win.
Maybe that's what that dollar was going into the accordion guy's fund. Maybe he was gonna try to win. Because words were exchanged and I didn't pick up what it was.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Maybe she told him.
Could be.
Lay off. She's like, lay off, accordion boy.
Oh, God. She's fired.
Yeah. Of course.
All right. So, yeah, contest. That sounds cool.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I hope someone wins.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't mind drawing a Beatle.
Yeah. So, yeah, preferably email Jason, because he is the one that is going to be drawing that.
Jason at guttertrash.net.
Jason@guttertrash.net. Or you can email me, es@guttertrash.net. And I will pass that along to Jason if you do to me.
Sweet.
Otherwise, yeah. Beatle drawn.
Yeah.
Coco Beware.
Go beware. It's the good word.
Yes.
To know that you were listening.
Yes.
You know, if one of your friends tells you about this, you're not going to win.
No.
You have to know the Coco Beware. You don't have to spell it right.
No, yeah.
Because I don't even know how that's spelled.
I couldn't tell you. I got an idea, but I don't know if it's right.
Yeah. Who knows?
Okay, then. Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night.
Thank you for listening to Gutter Trash. You can subscribe to the show from guttertrash.net or from iTunes and leave us a review. Visit guttertrash.net for email information, links to our Facebook and Twitter pages, and for other podcasts and websites in the Gutter Trash Network. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.